trying some new stuff. I'm trying to stream both on Twitch and on YouTube. Hopefully everything is working. Yep. So guys, welcome back. Today we're gonna continue working on our Instagram clone in React Native. So let me bring that presentation up so I can give you an intro if you are new here. Okay, so yeah, in this series I am building the Instagram clone in React Native from scratch. And before getting into details, I would like to say that I'm building specifically the home page. I'm not gonna go into details into all the pages, but if you're interested, I might continue this series and go into more specific pages. However, I started with a home feed, and in order to start programming in React Native, you need to first of all plan and think about like what component you will have, because in React Native and in React.js everything is made up from smaller components. So if you break down your application into small reusable components that are easy to maintain, then it's very easy to work with React Native and to maintain your applications. It's much easier to improve it because you know everything where it is located, and it's, yeah, every update comes much easier. So in our application we can see the first component is the header. Then we have a stories component that displays user stories, and this big red component which displays all the stories contains smaller components, which is one story component. So that's like the building blocks from which it is made. Then our feed is composed of post components, and we see that the post component is quite big, and we can further divide the big component into smaller granular component. For example, here I divided it into a post header, post image, and post footer. It has the like buttons and stuff like that. And the last one is the bottom tab navigator, which helps us navigate through different screens in the application. So where are we right now? Let's quickly run the application and I'll let you know what we have managed to build during the previous two series if you missed them. By the way, you can go check them out. I think they're pretty interesting, not being biased at all. Okay, let's I think it built and it runs. So what we have managed to build, we managed to build first of all the stories component, which is a horizontally scrollable list. You can scroll through them, you can see all your friends. Then we have managed to build the feed with the post component, included a couple of them here, and also we implemented the logic behind liking, and we can see that number of likes increased, and if we dislike it decreases. Also, like, all the icons are there. And the last thing is the navigation. First of all, the top header navigation, which displays the current page, the logo Instagram, and two icons. They're not, you can't navigate them right now, but they're there. So the bottom navigation displays all the pages that we have, and it actually works. I didn't implement the pages, but you can see that we can switch around them the icon changes its color, and we can also see all of them. So what I want to do today, I want something interesting. I want to get into the stories component because I feel that they are more technical and more interesting to build. It's not just UI. There is like some logic behind it, like how to navigate them. There is also like this automatic navigation when you view a story, like after 10 seconds you will see the next one, and so on. So I think it's pretty interesting and challenging. So yeah, stay tuned till the end, and hopefully we can build it till in this video. Yeah, let's check if everything is running smoothly. Yeah, I hope so. Okay guys, I think we can get started. So let's go ahead. Just a second. Yeah, let's go ahead and in the screens create a new screen, because our like story screen, like where we will view the stories, will be a separate screen. So we can create a new directory here, like story screen. Let's create here the index file of this screen. Okay, let's first of all import React from React. Then import, probably we will just display a text right now. And we'll set up everything, and we'll come back later to continue developing the design from React Native. Then the component itself, story screen, and an arrow function that returns right away a text component. Story, it will be an awesome story, not just a story. Of course I mistyped it. Oh. And we should not forget to export the component story screen. All right, now let's go into our router, and our stories component will be in our home routes, because so our index routes has all these pages like home, discovery, create post, notification, and profile. However, our stories component will be inside home. So for that reason, we have the first screen, which is the home screen displaying the feed, and we need to declare a new screen with the name story. Let's structure it better. And for the component, we should import our newly created story screen from screens.story screen, and pass it down here. Component story screen. Okay, it's there. However, we don't have any logic behind how to navigate and get to that screen. And the logic will be whenever we press on this story component, which now I understand that it has a bad name, story. Should I rename it to user story? Or user story preview, or story preview, something like that. Okay, let's name it user story preview. just to be sure that oh, I didn't user story preview. So in the stories component, user stories preview. And here, yeah, we import it properly. I think I just have to, yeah, it works properly. So let's go to the user story preview into the index, and we should make this user story preview component, we should make it clickable, so whenever the user will click on it, it will be redirected to the newly created page. Hi Borja, I just saw your message, maybe you wrote it previously, but hello, thanks for watching. So as I was saying, we should change from just a view into something that can detect user clicks, and that is our touchables, and there are a couple of them. So from React Native we can import touchable, and we see there is touchable opacity, touchable highlight, touchable without feedback, and all these, the difference between this component is just the feedback given to the user when we press it. So in the touchable opacity, when we press it, the opacity of a component decreases. In the highlight, the component highlights. So probably we'll go to with, I don't know, like highlight, and instead of a view we will say touchable highlight. Now we don't need this view. And what it allows us to send a one-click listener, but before that let's define this function of one-click. And if we have more statements in our component, we should transform from yeah, like simple braces to curly braces, and then add a return statement. That was some like shorthand in ES6. So we will declare our arrow function like on press, and here let's first of all console log and see user story pressed, and we can actually even say like whose story. Instead of user we'll say like name. Come on. And let's add it here. Come on. What happened? Okay. On press will be this function. So React children will expect to receive a single React element. I feel that it just should be updated. Come on, what are we waiting? Let's run yarn iOS again. Hey, I have some people watching on Twitch. Hello guys. Welcome to this stream. How did you find? React children only expects to receive a single React element child. Okay, but touchable highlight. do you think it's the touchable highlight only expects one element? I know that like a component should return only one element, so here we are returning only one. So I don't understand why is it complaining. Let's see, will this work? Yeah, apparently touchable highlight expects only one element inside it, but I tried with touchable opacity and it wasn't the case. Okay, I don't like the touchable highlight. When we press on it, it looks quite strange. So I will go with touchable opacity instead. And if I'm not mistaken, in touchable opacity, we don't need to, we can include like multiple elements. Okay, yep. And if we open the debug tools, but I don't know how to do that on iOS. It's Command D, yeah. Yeah, it says it's debugging. If we open here, yeah, Vadim story is pressed. The nil story pressed. Yeah, we can see that it works. All right, the pressing works. Now, when we press, we need to redirect the user to our newly created page. For that, we will need to access the navigation, because the navigation gives us this possibility. So for that, there is a specific hook, use navigation, that returns an instance of the navigation, which we can use to further navigate to other screens. It contains the state of the current screen, like which screen is active, like what screens are behind it, and so on. So use navigation, and we import it from import use navigation from React React navigation /native and the @ and instead of console logging, we can do navigation dot navigate to the story screen. Let's check if it works. Yeah, awesome story. We can go back, we can see another story, and it works. However, during preparation, I found a weird bug that like this part is not clickable. Like whenever I press here, nothing happens. Like pressing here is okay. So I was like, I didn't understand why that is happening. And I then saw that it's not the problem with the stories component, because if I scroll down here, you see that nothing is clickable, nothing is working. Then I understood that it's a problem with the image in the header, because the image is too big and it somehow blocks the interaction here, so we cannot do any interactions. In order to solve that, we can go to the components, not to the router, home routes, and here for the header title image, we can set height of around 50 pixels. And right now we see that this already is clickable and it's not blocking anything. Alright, we fixed that one as well. Yeah, let's check what's up with our awesome story component. Let's go there. So the first thing that we can see is that we have a header title to this screen, which in Instagram it's not there. So we need to hide this screen. In order to do that, we go into the home routes, and to our story screen we send the option object, and here header shown will be false. And we can see that already the header is hidden, and our text awesome story is there because we didn't include it into a safe area view. But that's probably how we expect it to work. Let me just check one more time in Instagram. Some stories. No, actually, it's inside a safe area. On my phone, it's the story doesn't go all the way up. It's until the safe area, like until here. So we know already how to fix that. We go into the screens, story screen. Let's include safe area view here and put our text into a safe area view component. This will make sure that the text is displayed in the area which the user can see and it's not hidden by anything. And also we don't need the, you know what? Yeah, now I'm thinking that in this screen we don't even need the bottom navigation. So that actually means that our component maybe shouldn't be inside this home navigation, but should be into the root navigator. So for that reason, I would say that we move this tab navigator into a separate file, which will be called like bottom tab navigator. Yeah, let's do that right now. Bottom home navigator .routes.js. We can move everything there. Let's just rename it bottom tab navigator. Not tab, but home navigator, which is tab navigator. Yeah, maybe not the best naming there, but it's okay. Okay, and in the index, our index will be a stack navigator, which will include our bottom tab navigator. Stack, create stack navigator, root stack. This will be the root stack. Create stack navigator, root stack, and the first screen, root stack dot screen, will be our home bottom, or we can call it home component. Will be import bottom home navigator from the file that we just created. So will this still work? Let's. Why I press Command D and it's not always working. Like I have to from source router dot index dot routes like this. Reload. Check the method render of router. Yeah, not root stack, but root stack dot navigator. And I feel that it's not properly indented. And this one, like this. And we messed. Okay, I think here for this navigator we need to hide the home name. Options, header shown false, and it will display the Instagram name from our home routes. Okay, so we need to take out the story component from here into the root stack, because in that component we don't need to display the header bar and nor the bottom navigation. That's why it should be in the root. Root stack will be story, and if we click right now, yeah, we see that we don't see the bottom tab navigator because it's completely another stack. It's in the root. Okay, that's probably clear. Hi Eduardo, hello. How are you doing? So yeah, we created the simple navigation to our stories component. Now we can start displaying these stories. But before doing that, I would like to do some refactoring and define the data for it. I don't usually work with hard-coded data, and it's sometimes hard for me to structure it well because I always use the data from the server, but I don't want to overcomplicate this project right now. So let's I don't know, let's create a directory data where we will store all the data. And here let's create a file called stories.js. And here we will export default an array of stories, and we can take them from our user story preview here, like this, because we will need to share this object from multiple places, and that's why I want to put it into a different file. Now let's import it into our user stories preview for this component. We will do import stories data from data store. One more folder up, data, yep, stories. Come on. Stories. Fine, I saw the other two videos, very interesting, thank you for watching, and yeah, I hope you enjoy and you find them educational, or at least entertaining, if not very educational. So here is the stories data. We can give it to our flat list, and we can see them back here. However, we will change a bit the structure of this data in our file, because here the stories will be like an object for each user. So this is actually the user, and it will have an array of stories. So I would like to do something like okay, we can leave actually this image URI and name here. However, I would prefer to put into a object like this, user, and I will copy paste it real quick to everything. That's why I don't like to work with hard-coded data. And then we will put this one here. Can I do that? Nope. All right. A little bit more, and yeah, we are done. After that, each story will contain like a user who published them, and also will contain an array of stories. And for each story will be an object which will have like a image URI. And I actually prepared a couple of vertical images. So we have it here. And what else will a story have? Let me just quickly check Instagram. It has probably like when it was posted, so like 1 hour ago and things like that. Yeah, I don't see any other thing. So for that we will create like a posted posted time, let's say like 25 minutes. We will keep it a string, not to bother with real dates. If you're interested in that, there is like a useful library to use, which is called moment.js, and based on one date, because usually in our database you will keep like a timestamp or a date, but in front end, in order to display like 20 minutes ago or 7 minutes ago or 2 days ago, there is useful things in moment. You just say like the date and then difference from now and stuff like that, and it shows like in a human readable way. But I'm not gonna complicate it just now. Okay, let's create a new one here. Another image here. And let's do probably one more for this user. Okay. And something for the next user. We have one more. Okay, let's just give it to this as well, but here we can keep only one story, not to have like long data, because we will it will be enough for us to test. If not, we can come back and add more stories. Let's actually delete these two, because it's enough for our demonstration purposes. So we can see that our new format, with a new data format, our display is not displaying properly. Come on, Vadim, like gather your words. Okay, sorry. Because we send here an array of data, which expects an array of like username and image URI and name. So for that reason, let's think how to, yeah, we will go into our story component, which is here, and we receive a story object. That story object is like this object. It has a user and it has a bunch of stories in it. So we can destructure from it user, which has image URI and also has a name. We destructure it from our story. So image URI of undefined. Let's do console log story and see what we receive here. Image URI undefined, name undefined. Why? Just tell me why. Okay, because we send them separately here. So instead of that, let's just say like story will be equal to item. So our new props will be called story. Props, and here we can first destructure the story, and from the story we take the user, and from the user we take image URI and name. Story is not defined. Okay, it's here. Yeah, like probably we don't need it now. Yeah, right now we see that it renders properly. Another thing that I want to do is give each user an ID, which will be probably a string. In order to know which, to have a unique identifier for each users. So whenever we press on it on our application, we can send just an ID to that screen, so we know like which story to display. 4 5 and 6, right? Yeah, I think all users have a unique identifier. Yeah, all right. Right now, when we navigate, we need to send data to this story, because we know that we open a story, but we don't know of which user, like is it the first user, the second user, and so on. So in order to do that, we will pass another object here with the props, like user ID will be the ID from here, from the user. that we receive from props. It will be here. So here we are sending it. Let's now go to our story screen and see if we receive this ID. We receive this ID in the route. And to do that, we need to the same way get access to the route as we did for the navigation, and we will use the same like useful hook that will give us a reference to the current route and all its state and information. For that we can say like const route is equal to use route. We need to import it. Let's see if it gives not from core but from native. Spacing here. I don't like my WebStorm puts like double quotes. Okay, route. So let's go ahead and console log what is our route here. So whenever we go here, let's go ahead and check what is displayed. But before doing that, yeah, our route has a key, which is like story and some identifier, has a name story, and has an object params. In that object, we can see that there is like a user ID too, and that's specifically that user ID that we press, like second user. If we go to the fourth one, we should see params user ID 4. I think that's clear. So we can take user ID from route.params.user ID. Is it user ID in yeah, user ID. So we need to take from to import the data with all the stories, like import stories data from our data.stories. And from these stories we should find these specific user stories. So we will need to loop through all the stories, find the specific one, and start displaying it there. So we'll do like user stories is equal to stories data dot stories data is an array. We do a find story data, and we will check for each story data if story data.user.id is equal to the user ID from the state. And then we can say like console log user story, and let's also console log a string like user story. Okay, let's open up our development tools, go to Alex story. We can see that user is free, it's Alex, and all the stories are here. It's only one. Yeah, it's all right. It's only one story there. So we now have a data user story. Now we need to start displaying it. So let's think. Probably we will need to keep like this like user stories in our state, in the internal state of a story screen. Let me just think about that for a second. Okay, let's use the state and keep our user stories in the state, because we will need to be able to transition from one story to another story, so it will be much easier to do that, yeah, if we have them in state. So user stories, and set user stories. This will be equal to use state, and initially it will be null. We need to import the use state from React. What else should we do? We need to keep track of the index, like which specific story is on the screen right now, because each user will have like multiple stories. And for that, let's probably active story index and set active story index. Use state will be probably 0, like the first one. So we will also need like to do something in the first when the component mounts, and in class components there is a lifecycle method like on component did mount. In functional components we use hook use effect, which is called every time the component mounts if we send an empty array as the dependencies. So we also import it from React, and here we will move our this logic. So we take our user stories and we can set it in state. Set user stories to user stories, and probably that's it. Let's do actually one more state, like active story, because it will be easier, I think. And will be null. Everything initially will be null. When we set user stories, we set the active story index to 0 to be the first one, and we will define a specific use effect, and we will set the dependencies to the active story index. And whenever the active story in the index changes, this hook will be run. So we can set here like set active story without index, the user stories like this dot stories, like user stories dot stories, which is again an array, at active story index. Not sure if that's clear enough, if that makes sense to anyone, but hopefully it does. Okay, we now have an active story object which has this structure. It has like an image and a posted time. So first of all, let's start by displaying the image. We'll display the image using the background image component. We display like a image background, which is similar to the image, but it displays like as a background, and That's probably what we want to do. And the source will be like URI will be active story dot image URI. Will it work? Let's see. Cannot property image URI of null. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's say if there is no active story, which that means that our component didn't load yet. Let's return in that case like a safe area with a loading indicator. I think there is such a component here in React Native. However, I don't remember how it's called. Loading activity indicator, I think. Activity indicator, and we want to display it here if there is no active story yet. Activity indicator, like that. Let's check. Cannot read property stories of null stories, user stories. Okay, let's console log user stories here, but probably it didn't find well. Let's check our logs. So if we press user stories and user cannot read property stories of null. We console log here. Okay, let's check here if first of all user stories and user stories dot length is more than story index -1. Then set it. Cannot read property width of undefined. And in that case, do we need this check? Probably we do, because in the beginning it's loading. Image background styles width. Do we need to send styles to the image background? Let's quickly search image background here. So image background style image, resize mode, justify content. Yeah, I think we didn't define the styles properly. That's why it's crashing. So let's define the styles styles.js, import style sheet from React Native, style sheet create, and we have our image. I think we copied it. It will be like displayed as flex, resize mode cover to cover the whole screen, and justify content center. So we can go to our index file, import the styles, import styles from styles, and we send the styles here, styles.image, right? Cannot read property with of undefined. Width of safe area. Should I set a width here? With yeah, like 100%. So let's see where. Oh yeah, export default styles. Okay, thank you. Someone wrote in comments to export it first. That was hopefully the solution. Okay, something is happening. I feel that the image is just too big and it's loading, but I might be wrong. Maybe we don't need the width. Let's put a different image first, because I'm not sure. Or let's even put like the user's image, because we know it loads. So we'll take it from here. Put it right here. And that was for Lucas. It doesn't do anything. Maybe I need to, for the image background, I need to include something. Like, I don't know, like a text here, because it has like width and height 0 probably, and that's why it doesn't display. Let's just go with a text. Hello. Please work. With 100%, height 100%. Come on. Background color for the win. Background color red. Nothing is there. Maybe displays this one. Console log active story. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Maybe it even is not displaying it. But no, I think it should. Come on, where is my... Active story, image URI. It should work. Let's just check if the image is loading here. Yep. Should I try it with just an image? Image. And here we definitely don't need anything. Because of safe area view. Container. Let's try to set background color here to see if it actually renders. It renders there. Height. Let's maybe here we need to define the height. Okay. Yeah. Our safe area view didn't have any height, so that's why it was not displaying properly. If we set the height, then it works. So it will work with image background as well. And we don't need the image here. And here we can revert to the other story. Okay, if we go here, we see one story. Okay, we don't need the background red right now. It's good with white as well. So if we go to different people, we see different stories. What should be our next step? I think before displaying like the user and everything on top, the UI, we can implement like navigating between stories. So whenever I press here, it will go to the next story. Let's first of all close everything and story screen. Open this one because we will work here. So we need to detect somehow whenever we press on the right side, and for that we need to detect like which part of the screen was pressed. I didn't do anything like that before probably. Did React Native detect click position, or we can display like two big buttons that will be transparent. Get coordinate of my touch event on press event this. I think there is like we can easily get the location using the touchable opacity. Okay, let's try that. So let's wrap our image background or our touchable opacity. Okay, let's import touchable. I will use touchable without feedback because we don't need any feedback, like no opacity, nothing. But we still need to be able to detect the clicks. So touchable without feedback. Touchable without feedback on press. We will call we'll define function handle story press, or handle just press, because we know that we are here. And we send it here, handle press. We will receive here an event, as we saw here. And the event, let's try to just console log the event and see console log event dot native event, and see what it displays there. React children only expect to receive a single React element child. Who? Probably touchable without opacity. It needs one element. What do we send there? Do we send the image background? Come on, come on, come on. Here. And now let's check where we press. Okay, location X and location Y. And we see like the location where we have pressed. Based on this location, we can understand if it was on the right side of a screen or on the left side of a screen, and do the proper navigation. Let's go here. So we saw there was a location X. Let's save it into a variable. Then we will need the dimensions of the screen to understand if it's right or left. Dimensions, right? And const screen width will be dimensions dot get window width. So we can check const is right equal to true. In the beginning we will initialize is right to true, and if x is less than screen width divided by 2, which means if it's on the left side, we say that is right equal to false. And let's, yeah, we need from const to let. So console, let's log is right, and we'll see if it actually detects properly. So here should be true and here should be false. Yeah, true, false. Based on that, we will call the specific function. We will have like 2 more functions: const handle next story and handle previous story. Here we don't even need like this is right or is not right. We can say like here handle previous story because it's less, this is left, else handle next story. Handle next story. All right, handle next story. Here we need to increment the story index. So we will say set active story index to active story index plus 1. I recently installed like autocomplete AI plugin, which is called Codota. So you saw that it auto-completed like set active story to active story plus 1. Like let's see, set active. It doesn't work. Yeah, like here it auto-completes with -1. How does it understand that? Okay, to understand like previous, it should be -1, and in that case it auto-completed with +1. So this effect will be called every time active story index is changed, and we should probably check here if active story index is less than 0. We can set active story index to 0, not to go set active story index to 0. Yep. Not to go below 0 and crash our application. And if active story index is more than user stories dot length, more than user stories dot length, more or equal, so we will not go overboard, like more than how many stories the user has. That means that set active story index to the last one, like length -1. Right, I guess. And here we don't need to check because or we need to check actually. Return, let's return, not to go further, we don't need to check this one. We can say if user stories So let's go to the first one, stories of null. If active stories then we will return. Okay, something is happening. I don't understand if it's properly working. Sometimes it works, sometimes no. Let's console log here, console log active story index. So here active story 1, but it doesn't update. Weird. Active story 2, 3 and 2. Oh god, I have some problems with that logic. -1 0 -1 0. No, it's okay, it goes -1 and then comes back, and now 1, but it doesn't update. Why you're not updating, bro? Come on, come on. Set active story, user story, stories, active story index. And it doesn't update. Or maybe it does. Very weird. Let's try to, no, cancel. Reload it. What problem is child in a list should have a unique key property? Which one? Virtual flat list, stories. Our stories doesn't have a key. Let's go and fix that one because it bothers me. User stories preview. Key extractor will be nope. Will be user and then here ID, and we can return ID here. Will you complain now? Hello. No, it's okay. And if we go to the active story index 0, when we press it's 1 but it doesn't update. No. It's 1 but it doesn't update. But we say let's check console log setting the active user story. So pressing now, it's cold. Why? Console log re-rendering. It's a state. Whenever a state changes, it should re-render our screen. But it doesn't. Why? We press, nothing happens. Come on. Oh, maybe it's Oh, I think I know. I think I might know. Our active story is an object, and whenever we change it, React doesn't understand changes, like deep nested changes in objects sometimes. It will understand only let's only work with active story index, because we can okay, here in this effect we will just make sure that the index is in the bounds. Actually we will need that first if statement. Then const active story will be equal to user stories dot stories at active story index, and here null if there is no user stories. No, actually we can, you know what, it's gonna be much simpler if we move this on top, and if we check not active story, if it's not, there are no user stories, we will show this activity indicator. Otherwise we don't need to check it here because it's gonna be here. So rerunning, let's hope it actually works. So it always shows the activity indicator. Let's rerun the app. Come on. I don't understand why command R is not working from time to time. Yarn iOS. Okay, first one, we click, it changes. We click, it changes. We click one more time, cannot read property image of undefined. Okay, probably we will need to keep track, to make sure we don't go over it. Inside here, handle next story. So if active story index is more than equal to -1, let me think, it's a bit tough. We say return, we don't do anything if it's more or equal. All right, but if it's less than or equal to 0, we don't need to decrease it because it's the last one. I mean the first one. We don't need to do anything. and here as well, because we handle the bounds inside these handle stories. All right, let's go. Press, 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 nothing happens. Press back, press back, press back, nothing happens. All right, that's good enough. I mean, that's pretty good. Okay, however, we know that on Instagram, if it's the last story, it will go to the next user stories, which means that here, instead of returning, we should say like go navigate next user, navigate to next user. It will be a function, and then we can return. And here, navigate to previous user. So let's implement these two functions. We know the user ID here. Yeah, we know the user ID. Actually, we can take it out of the effect. We know the user ID, and we should, actually it's easy because in our case users ID are incremental, so we can say that we will actually need the use navigation hook to get the navigation, so we can navigate use navigation. We import it from the same library, use navigation, and using navigation we navigate to story, and for the user ID we gave user ID +1. Actually, I'm not sure how it will work, and it's gonna be to string, and here -1 to previous user. And let's check how it works. So we go to our stories, use navigation is undefined. I imported it wrong. Eduardo, thank you. I have to leave. I'll watch the recorded version and thumb it up. Bye. Goodbye. Thanks for sticking around and watching it. Yeah, see you next Saturday at the same time. Have a nice evening. But with our guys, we are going with the next implementation. So let's check if it works. Press, this is still mine, and the next one doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. Navigate push, let's try, and if it works I will explain you why it works. Hello, come on, come on, come on. 1, 2, and 3 should be the next one, and it's loading because maybe I know why. Console log. Let's check what. Yeah, I think it just appended 1 to the existing string, and it's gonna be like 0 1 or 1 1, something like that, and that's why it doesn't find and it's loading. We can open our, yeah, it's 1 1 actually. Okay. Parse int user ID. Let's go back. So click, click, click. Yeah, it's I remember this is the story of the next user, so it navigated perfectly to the next user. And here we can say the same, like parse int yeah, why push? No, let's actually go to navigate, because we don't want to push a new stack on top of the same stack. We need just to change the parameters, because our story is already in the state of a navigation. And let me just check if it will work. Okay, 1 2 3 should be the next one. No, without push actually doesn't work, because the navigate will check if that screen is already in the state. So if we already navigated to that, it goes back to it. However, push creates a new navigation even though it's the same screen. It pushes on top with the new parameters. So in this specific case, we will need push. Push me. Yep, it goes to the next one, and so on. What should we do now? Should we display the user? It's a lot of things here. We can go back and refactor it a bit later. So we can actually display the profile picture and start displaying the things on top. So the profile picture, did we import it? URI and size. URI is active story dot user dot image URI. Property image of undefined active story. Let's check it here. Console log active story. So here, active story. No. But not active story, because active story is the story itself, but our user, the active story is like this object itself, but we need to access the top object, like user stories. So it's gonna be like user stories dot user dot image URI, like this. Yeah, we see it here. We will style a bit later. Let's just put all the information that we have. So there will be the name, which will be a text component. And for the name we can say user stories.user.name text strings, not text like this, capital text. We go here, yeah, we see the name there. So what's next there? After that, there is another view underneath, which will be like the input where you send a message to the creator. Not from reanimated, from here, view. And this one will also be a view. We will define some styles for it. Styles dot user info, and for the user info it will be we need to display them side by side, so flex direction will be row, yes, and center items, no, align items will be center, yes. For them, yeah, here is the name. Style will be styles dot user name, the color will be white, the font weight will be bold, the font size a bit bigger, 14, not string, just 14, 16. Actually the image is too big, so for the profile picture we'll send like size of 50. Yeah, I think that's much better. And the name is, let's give not bold but 600. What will be 800? Yeah, 500. No, 6 is okay. Can decide 500, right? And the font 18. The thing is that it's a different font. They have a different font, but it's pretty okay. Now image, justify content, space around, no, space between, we need it on top. User info will have some margin top like 10. That's pretty good. I still think 600 is okay. We have a username, and on the bottom we will have probably we have a button, input, and an icon. So let's define like icon. We can take that icon, it's a camera icon, so we can take it from the router actually. Let's take it from home routes, where we have like this camera icon. Did it imported it correctly? Yep. Okay, it's there. The color should be white. And we'll play around with the size of it. Then it's gonna be an input component. Input, text input. Text input. Is it visible there? I don't see it. Let's create the next icon, which we can take from, again, from top, from the router, which is paper plane outline, this one. And then we can figure out with the text input. Okay, it's here, which means that style, not user info, but bottom container. Again, we want to display them side by side. For that we need flex direction row. Text strings must be rendered. Okay, let's check the documentation of the text input. Text input. Text input, max length, editable. So what are we not giving it? What properties we are missing there because our text input does not display? Like a width, something like that. I don't know, let's add it inside a view. Style will be text input, and we can give it some kind of a width to see if that's the reason it doesn't display. Will be, let's say, like 300. Yeah, we can see there. So for the text input, let's add a border width of 1, border color of white, probably it will be 2, and some border radius to make them of 50, for example, to make them round. Yeah, and the height will be, I don't know, it's pretty high, like, I don't know, 70, no, 50, something like that, to be honest. Text input container, because we will probably need to adjust the style of the input itself. Text input container. So what we need to properly adjust the width to say that the first and the last one will have standard width, and the input itself in the middle will adjust based on the screen size. So let's do that. View add them into a view style, camera camera button. It's not yet a button, but probably in future it will be. And this icon will be the message or send button. So for the camera button, we will say that the width is 50. For the message button, again the width is 50. The width is 50, and here the width shouldn't be 300, it should be like 100% of the size it has. No. How to say it should take the whole space? Yeah, flex 1. And center align items, center, and justify content again here, center, to align the icon in the middle like that. The same thing for this one. Maybe we can share the same styles. So we have the bottom container. We will need some spacing underneath. So margin bottom will be 10, maybe even more, like 20, something like that. Also want to increase the size of icons, 30, maybe even 40, no, 35, and here 35. Let me check the Instagram and see how it looks. Yeah, probably the text input will need some, text input container will need some margins on the left and the right. Margin horizontal like 10. Come on. Yeah, more spacing like that. And another thing that I see in Instagram is that the camera the camera icon has an outline around it. So for the camera button, we can do something similar to this one. Camera button. Border radius. And we see that the icon size is too big, like 30. Yeah, probably it's already better. Let me check. Yeah, something like that. The text input will have like a placeholder. What does it say here? Send message. Send message. And the placeholder should be white. For that, probably we will need to send some styles there. Text input. Style. Placeholder style. Does it have something like that? I don't see if placeholder. Placeholder text color. Okay. Let's split it into multiple lines to be easier to read. And it will be white. However, it's too small there. Style. Let's try to set text input. Thank you, Rakovitz Alexei, for subscribing. Height will be 100%. Yep. Let's add some horizontal margin horizontal. Or no, it's better to add here to the container some padding. Padding horizontal. Yeah, like that. And let's see how to change also the color of the text. Color. Border, underline, keyboard, placeholder, text color. In the text box, that is a color. The background will change to that. Oh, okay, red. Yeah, that one I understand. Should it be just from the styles? Text input, color, white. Yeah, it's from here. And font size, let's do a 14 at least, something. 16. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, we see the stories of different people. We see, for example, my story. We can navigate through it, the different stories. When we go to the next user stories, I would add some spacing here. Text input container. No, bottom container, margin bottom. Let's add margin horizontal, will be 10. Yep, already better. I would decrease the camera button, the border width here to 1, like this. And let me check how it is for them. And also for the send message as well, it's probably a 1 there. Where is it? Border width 1, like this. Yep. Oh, and what I missed to display the near the name. We need to display the date on which the story was posted. I mean the time. So near the username, we need to display here a new text with active story. And the active story has, where is the data? Has this posted time. Posted time. And for the styles, we need to copy paste the styles for the username, and instead of a white it will be a lighter gray. Like, let's first declare a color, and using the color picker here, put it to a light gray, probably no font weight, and the size will be like 14. And margin left will be 10. Actually, for the font size we can leave as it was. Let me check there how they're doing. And also they are doing the same font weight for the name. And yeah, something similar to this one. Maybe the both the name and this one is a bit smaller, even like this. So we have our stories component working. We can navigate through them. We can see other people's stories. We can go back. We can go directly to someone's stories, for example, to the new stories. If we go back, we can go to Alex's story. We can navigate, start writing a message. Yeah, right now it doesn't work, but maybe in future we will implement so it will be workable. Yeah, we have all the designs. The only thing that it's left will be to work on the automatic navigation through the stories. So how Instagram is doing, like it displays the stories for example 15 seconds, and we see it loading here, and after 15 seconds it automatically navigates to the next one, and so on. So I think that's what we're gonna do next week, because it's already 2 hours today and I'm a bit tired. Yeah, that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Write down below what you enjoy and what would you be interested in seeing in the next streams, because I'm thinking whether I should go deeper into the Instagram clone or you're more interested in something new. So for example, in each stream I take an application, I do the UI design or maybe even the backend if you're interested, and like in each video we do something new and something interesting, something excited. Or you would like to do something more in depth, like to have a series with more videos where I develop more and more features of the same application until we get to something bigger in size and in scope. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking right now, and I would need your help to decide on that. So yeah,